You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Josh Vietti, and I'm here with Nicole Dickey, Pastor Ron Vietti, Vincent Sierra,
hey.
And we're gonna hang out with you guys for a few minutes, or I don't know how long are we gonna go today? Do we know?
Who knows?
We know. All right. Well, we're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna talk about what we wanted to talk about last week, hopefully. But I'm not even gonna claim it this time.
I don't think we're going to get to it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna claim it. I'm not gonna claim it because you never know where this is gonna go. But hopefully you are having a great week. Hopefully everything's going well in your life. And if not, just seek the Lord, because that's what we're all about. Yeah. And we believe that if you're not involved in a church, it's important to do that. Pray about which church to go to and get involved, and just follow God. Really, that's the best path. Through Jesus, and we just really want to encourage you to do that.
You know what? I need your help. Me and my wife's having a difference of opinion. And it happened to me on the way over here today. The green arrow turns, turning arrow, and somebody's on their phone. I have a rule of 5 seconds and I honk. My wife says, don't honk. I said, you have to. I said, I've got places to be. I have a life, and I can't let them miss the light. So what's your opinion about like my 5 second rule and then I honk?
So my wife is like, what's this person doing? She and I'm like, okay, I'm going to honk, but it's going to be the double tap for sure.
Absolutely.
The double tap and a wave. That's what I do.
Sometimes I try the double tap and my hand gets stuck and it does just the opposite.
It's a skill. Double tapping is a skill.
I know, it's a skill.
You have to practice, because
yes. I do a lot of double tapping.
Yeah.
On a mountain road, somebody pulls over, I do the double tapping, but occasionally it got stuck and it just, I think, okay, here's my opinion. I think somebody ought to come up with this. It would be wonderful. Where you have 4 buttons on your car and one says, excuse me. In other words, get out of the way, dumbhead. You can hit a different button each time.
Oh, man.
They'll be rich. They'll be a multimillionaire.
Well, I think that the difference between the double tap and the laying on the horn is the difference between excuse me and get out of the way.
Mm-hmm. It's the happy honk.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle. I don't do a long one.
There's a movie about that where with Russell Crowe, where the lady honks at him and he pulls up next to her and he like lectures her about the double tap, and the whole movie escalates.
Really? With the double tap?
Oh, come on. It's a whole movie?
A whole movie. It's actually not a bad movie.
Well, you know what? I mean, you don't want to be rude. And so, but you also have a life. You have to get somewhere. And most of these people that I've seen are on their phone. And so I don't know. My wife and I will continue to disagree on it. So I just wanted to ask your opinion.
You don't give them one light, like, here's a grace.
No,
light.
I don't give them one light. No, I can't do that.
I don't know.
And then you know what? When you honk, almost always, it's inevitable. They will speed up so fast. They feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. Hey, I went to the car wash yesterday, and I don't know how they did. Somebody got halfway in the middle, and they went off the little groove.
Oh man,
they were sitting sideways in the middle of the car wash, and I thought, how did they do that?
They must have hit their steering
wheel.
Yeah.
Inevitably, they had to hit it.
Or like
kind of lean on it.
I'm going to say they're never in it. Like they got in, like they thought they were on the track and they started in.
I thought you meant they got out of the car.
Yeah, no, they could have done that too.
It's like my worst fear.
What, Nikki?
Right, getting stuck in the car wash. That's like I don't even, I'll be honest, I don't go through the car washes like that. I go to like the ones that do it yourself and you get out of your car, because I'm like, I don't know. It's never happened, but I'm so terrified that's going to happen.
Well, you know what? And what made it worse, I'm the guy behind, and somebody in front of them, because it shut it down, started honking, and the guy looked at me and said, have patience. I said, I'm not honking.
It's not me.
It's not me. Yeah. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's not me.
That's happened to me a few times.
Have patience.
Well, the light thing, right? Usually somebody behind me will lay on their horn, and then I'm like, ooh, dee-dee. Just waving.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Well, I do it for truck drivers a lot, too. On the freeway, they pull over, let you by, and you just go, the double tap. But what I want to talk about real quickly, Josh, is this whole Super Bowl halftime thing. I don't know if you've heard about it. If you haven't, I'm going to play you a clip. I think this clip pretty much explains it all. Let me get this clip right here, right now, and I want to talk about this. So let's play the clip here, if I can get it here.
So Forrest Frank and Corey Asbury, who was talking about an alternative show for the Super Bowl, said they will not be doing it with Turning Point USA because their vision is incompatible. They want their Super Bowl alternative show to be completely about Jesus Christ.
Y'all, I've been getting absolutely blown up about this Jesus Bowl 26 alternative halftime show idea. I'm getting tens of thousands of messages and comments. I love it, but I'm here to provide some clarity on this thing. So about a month ago, Forrest and I soft launched this idea of an alternative halftime show. People loved it. It took off. It went viral quickly. Seemed like there was a desire for something like this. And in the midst of that, Turning Point USA announced their own alternative halftime show. No venue, no artist, but they said, hey, we're doing this. So in the spirit of unity, Forrest and I jumped on a call with their team to talk it through. Productive, amicable discussion. But at the end of the day, the two visions are just incompatible. We want this to be a Jesus moment. We want this to be a time where culture is doing one thing and we're doing another. We're glorifying the name of Jesus. We're showing his preeminence. We're worshiping. We're praying. I almost see it like an evangelistic Billy Graham crusade kind of thing where there's a call to the altar. There's a call to give lives to Jesus, and there's just mass salvation taking place across this nation. How beautiful would that be? So now it's time to find a venue, find donors and sponsors, because this is going to cost legitimately millions of dollars. Forrest and I are not taking a dime from this. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is simply, let's offer something to the nation and to the Lord. So we've got our work cut out for us. So if y'all know people, let us know, connect us, send me a DM, send me a message, and let's see what God does. Announcement coming soon. Love you guys.
So it sounds like there will be two alternative shows when it comes to the Super Bowl. There will be the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny performing. There will be something with Forrest Frank and Corey Asbury that is completely Jesus. And there will be Turning Point, which is, I believe, American. Which one will you be tuning into? I'll be tuning into what's going on for Jesus. Amen.
Now, I want your take on this because I have an opinion.
I don't know if you want my take on this.
Kind of
This is
do.
when-
Now
this
I
is
do.
when,
This is when you go off the rails.
You're going to do a 15-minute revival between the two quarters of the Super Bowl?
Interesting. Yeah. So
I mean, look, I'm
okay.
not saying that,
Yeah.
that's not, that wouldn't happen, but it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's watching football.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of Ecclesiastes 3. There's a season and there's times and seasons, right? Well, I think there's also moments. And there's moments that we are focused 100% on God. And then there's moments where we're focused on each other as people, right? And those moments aren't exactly the same sometimes. I mean, I'm always like, I'm all about serving God, loving God. I love him to death. But if I'm at a Super Bowl party and maybe I'm rooting for a team, all right, and they're losing and I'm upset, or maybe I'm rooting for a team and they're winning and I'm excited, right? And then it's halftime. Okay, guys, we're gonna turn this off right now. We're gonna praise God. Okay, awesome. And I'm gonna like shift. My whole mind is going to shift to that, right? And then it's like, okay, now the Super Bowl is back on. What good did we just do?
I think you did good. I do. I think you did a lot of good. You planted seeds. There's a lot of things I think you can get out of that. I mean, there's a lot of alternatives. You could just turn off the halftime Super Bowl and turn on the music and everybody dance. There you go.
That's
and then
true.
turn it back on.
Actually, you make a good point. You could, they could save their money, right, and not do all that, and people could turn worship.
I mean,
on.
have you guys ever watched the halftime show? Very seldom. And I know I'm not watching Bad Bunny. There's no way I'm not watching that because it doesn't interest me. But to me,
and let me go back and let
Okay.
me say, because I feel like I'm going to get myself in a hole if I don't explain this fully.
okay,
Let's say that there are people that don't know the Lord at your Super Bowl party, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know Jesus.
Right.
Okay. Well, that could either be a really good thing for them and really bring them close to the Lord, or it could completely backfire and they could just think you're nutty and weird and never even want to have anything to do with you again. It's very possible. Or it could be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think they're trying to solve a problem that probably does exist. I mean,
what's the problem?
Yeah.
What's going on with the halftime?
No. So I'm gonna say, let's go back because I think it doesn't start with Bad Bunny, and I don't know anything about Bad Bunny, so I don't know about that. All I know is like I think the Super Bowl got hijacked maybe 10 years ago. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was less than or more than age will define me here, but. When Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, when he ripped off her, her, and I think from there it's kind of been off the rails for families in general.
That wasn't good.
If you have kids in your family and you're watching the Super Bowl, it is really, really hard to think like, oh, I hope they don't do something crazy. Like all you're hoping the whole time is that it's good family entertainment. It's a Super Bowl. It's like an American pastime. It's like, we're gonna watch the commercials. You hope the Doritos commercials are funny. You hope the commercials are appropriate for your kids.
Right.
You're just hoping for the best, right?
Right.
And so I think I think they've gone a little hard on. I don't know anything about Bad Bunny. I think the Turning Point USA.
I do. You can talk to me later.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I do think Turning Point USA. It sounds like they hijacked Corey Asbury and Forrest Frank on this idea. But yeah, I think they're trying to solve a problem. I think that's what they're trying to do. And I do commend Corey Asbury and those
Turning
guys.
Point doing? What's the difference?
We don't know. I mean, that's why it's going to be hard to judge this. We don't know.
Well, they said if you go back to the video, they're saying they don't. Their visions aren't the same. They're basically Corey.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. Like they were going to partner with them. That there was a talks of them partnering, and they talked together a lot.
Right.
And they said our visions are completely different.
Got it. Okay.
Their visions are 100% focused on Jesus. And
more political. The other one.
They didn't say
American.
political. They just said just different.
American.
Yeah.
I just think it's just my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I 100% could be wrong. And if I am, then Lord forgive me. But why are we trying to Christianize our culture? Culture can't become saved. Culture can't become Christian. That's just not, it's a silly thing to me. Our job is to lead people to Christ, right? Our job is to lead people to Jesus. And that by default could change culture. It could change culture, right? And it should change culture. But the truth of the matter is, biblically speaking, culture's not going to go in the right direction.
A lot of them are if we minister to them.
Well, people will. Some people
will. Yeah. We're not going to change culture. No way. But again, Josh, I've said it before. You probably heard me. We weren't called to clean the fishbowl, but to save the fish.
Yeah, right. And that I understand, And so if there's like an altar call and this thing is like prayed through, then awesome. That's great. Do it. But I don't really understand. Like, okay, let's say you're not going to watch I'm assuming that Bad Bunny has bad political beliefs or something, or like political beliefs that are different than.
I don't know.
I was just joking. I don't know either.
I really don't know what the issue is. Well, that's the thing. No, I mean, that's it. Like, if we don't know what it is, it's like, well, then first of all, let's say it's politics. Let's say it's like, I'm not going to watch this because I don't, like this guy's politics. What about the past 15 Super Bowl shows? Do you know their politics? What about the football players on the field? Do you know their politics? What about the coaches on the field? What about the
owners?
Well,
it goes down the line.
Commercials you're going to watch.
Vince brought something up. I think the NFL or the network, whoever is responsible for this decision, we don't trust them anymore. They've lost our trust.
Right. You know what I would respect? I'll tell you what I would respect. I would respect if people didn't watch the whole Super Bowl and did something different. I would respect that.
Who wants to do something different, man? That's a big game.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm watching Super
Bowl. They won't do that. They won't do that.
Again, I think it's overcomplicated because I do think it has to do with the Super Bowl itself. I think there's a lot of people with young families that are just afraid what their kids are going to be turned into, and I think that's the gist of it. My kids, which is great, I'm glad they like Forrest Frank a lot, and they like his music. They think that he's right up there with everybody else, and so I think with him having an alternative, like if he's putting on a concert on another channel and they tuned into that, great. I do understand what you're saying. I'm tracking with what you're saying. It's like, you have 15 minutes to do an altar call or whatever, bring a revival style thing.
Sure.
For the people that are in the stands, I have no idea how it's going to be done. I mean, I commend them for trying to do something. I think if they're sincere about not taking money, they prayed through it. They feel like they're supposed to do it.
If they believe they're supposed to do it, then do
Yeah.
it. That's fine. I have no issue with them doing it. I just think it's silly because what happens is people end up fighting online about this, and they end up there's stuff like this causes more division usually than it does.
What I do think about more so, and and I know this is going to put me into a hole, and Pastor, you can dig me out of it, please. But I do think it's like, as a Christian, I'm not saying we're supposed to support Bad Bunny, but if you're like, hey, we're anti-Bad, it feels like an anti-Bad Bunny campaign or a smear on him. I don't know anything about him. So, he could be a great person or whatever. I just feel like it's like at some point, it's like, hey, there should be a conversation or explanation with that guy to say, hey, we're not protesting you. We're just giving an alternative to families or something. I just,
Well,
I don't know.
take this verse. I've quoted it before. It's in the King James Version. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And, in my opinion, Josh, and I'll go back to something you said, maybe there's room for both of them. I'm really glad there's an alternative. I really am. Let's go back to me. I was a young guy. I was running from God. If I went to someone's house for the Super Bowl and they turned on the Forrest Frank one, it might do something. Wait a minute. I'm watching that going, that music's pretty doggone cool that they're doing right now. That's worship music. It might do something. I don't know. But I'm saying to you, and I think you would agree, people are different levels. So some people, it might be God's will that they go to the turning point, assuming we know what turning point's going to be. They might turn around and do something different now. But turning point could be a level between what Forrest Frank's doing and Bad Bunny. And so maybe there's room for both of them. I'm just glad there is an alternative. And I might disagree with you a little bit, Josh. I think the Lord can use it.
No, of course he can.
In a pretty big way.
I just like I'll say what I'll say is like what Vince said was really good. If they've prayed through it and they believe that God has called them to do it, then they should do it. I agree with that. God can do anything, right? He can do 100% anything. But they better be praying through this because this could also be damaging to the kingdom of heaven, in my opinion. It's the same argument that I have against putting the 10 Commandments in school. In public schools. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I think there's boundary lines.
I think you got to explain that. You can't just say that.
Well,
and
no,
not have an
you put the 10
explanation.
Commandments up though, then all religion is going to be able to bring their stuff in,
That's
and
why I
kids
just
are going to
said
be
explain
ultimately
it. Yeah.
totally confused.
Exactly. And there's that's one argument. The other argument would be we're not under that we're not under the law anymore.
Yeah.
When Jesus came, he came to fulfill the law, finish it, right?
Yeah.
And so we have the Holy Spirit, and so it's a wholly different thing. I mean, we want to shove religion and we want to shove our religious culture down people's throats. We don't want to give them Jesus, in my opinion. That's my opinion as a whole, as a church. That's what I see right now. And I also
hearing these headphones.
and I also think that I really think that. Well, let me just go back and say I think that we as a church should be praying for people and we should be following the Lord's guidance and we should be doing what he calls us to do, but not try to change culture, because I think that's where we get in trouble, because that's where you get into divisions and fights. And if you let's say that you're like, hey, I really want to do this Super Bowl party or I'm going to do this alternative Super Bowl thing, so come to my house. And then it starts like a huge debate online. Well, you don't like Bad Bunny, or you're racist, or whatever people might say, because people might say all these different things,
that's what
right?
It is, right? Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's just go back and let's say, okay, instead of starting fights with people that we could lead to Jesus later on, let's just be cool, man. Like, let's just be cool. Like, is Bad Bunny a bad guy? I have no idea. I've heard he is a Christian. I don't know anything about him.
I went back and tried to look at some of the lyrics, and obviously they're all in Spanish or another language. So I really couldn't get the lyrics. But Josh, I think we're not trying to change culture, but we've got to save the fish in the bowl. And I think this can be used to bring a lot of people to Christ. I think it can if they do it right. But again, it's hard to judge because we don't know yet what they're really going to do. We might watch both of them and say they both stunk, both halftime shows. It wasn't what it's supposed to be. I doubt that. Because their hearts are so right.
Yeah.
But I think there's something for both of them.
Let's put it this way. My final say on this is that we need to, again, pray through things and not just react to things. because we are
Yes.
the culture in general,
Yes.
the world in general is a reaction world. It's a reaction culture. And what should set us apart as Christians is we should be a pray, think, do culture. We should pray first, think it through, and then do. Maybe
Well, it sounds
maybe
like
pray,
they did. Sounds like they did.
Maybe pray, think, pray,
Yeah.
you know, and then do. But
I think they did.
and maybe they did. And I'm not judging them for doing that. It's more of a just we all need to make sure that our attitudes are in line with what God would have us.
We
Also-
might end up
yeah.
watching them, and I might go, you know what? I watched the Forrest Frank one, and I watched Turning Point, and I kind of like Turning Point better. We don't know yet. It's hard to judge the whole thing before we see what
having
they're
a choice,
talking about.
Having a choice is great, you know. This might actually cause everyone to do an alternative for halftime.
Part of me thinks so
You know?
too, and I know, and I don't know if you're gonna play that video. Forrest Frank talked about finances and how he uses finances as his personal issue. I do think part of me wishes that Turning Point USA and these guys would take all the resources, all the millions of dollars it would take, that they were going to take personal donations and take donations from, and they would just give that back to the local churches.
Yeah,
to
that'd be cool.
Make
That'd be
impacts
cool.
in their
If
community.
there was something like that, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and again, I'm not judging because I know things cost money. I just, in my mind, I'm like, man, how much? I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars and like people that are hurting. Like, what kind of impact can we make in our own communities, to our local churches? And
well, people always say we're not of this world. We're not of this
Yeah.
world. We're not of this. They're stickers, right? We're not of this world, and I agree with that. But we are in it,
yeah,
right? We are in it, but we're not of it. And so when I look at Jesus, I've just been reading a lot about where Jesus was at, and he would constantly get berated by the political people around him, and by the religious leaders around him,
right,
who were both political and religious, right? He'd be berated by them all the time because he was where the sinners were,
yeah,
and he would just be like, you don't get it. Like, I'm supposed to be here with these people, in the world, but not of the world.
I look at it the other way too. It's like, I don't allow that stuff into my home on a normal day in, day out basis.
And
So
that's your
why
choice.
would I allow it in at the Super
absolutely.
Bowl? And I think that's the thing too. It's like, if I'm inviting somebody into my home for the Super Bowl,
Right.
and I play something that isn't normally in my home, am I showing a bad light on them that I'm okay with this? Like,
Right.
there's the other side of that. And maybe that's just because I think of it through my kids and my nieces and nephews that are all gathered around the TV. But, everybody is responsible for doing what they're called to do. But I still have to protect my own space and what God's calling me to protect
Sure,
for my kids
I agree with
watching
that.
that.
No, I agree with that, and that's great. But you're not going to get on Facebook and argue
No,
with people
I'm
about
not.
it, right? That's my point. Like, I think it's. I don't have a problem with the alternative halftime show. I have more of a problem with what we say online about things, and we can become so divisive and just
Absolutely.
and just kind of shut the door. We shut doors for people all the time. We open them and then we shut them, right? And so I don't know. I just think that not that we can be united with everybody in the world. I'm not saying that, because Jesus, I get it. Like,
right.
He came, to.
I will say the NFL has to be thinking really, really
There you
hard.
go.
Because, I mean, there's two now alternatives, and they have to be thinking like, man, are we missing the mark on people want something for our family? They want family entertainment.
Let me ask you a question. Is this the NFL's decision or the network? Who makes this final decision? And I'm thinking, it's going to speak loudly to whoever makes this decision. They're going, man, we got to do something with our halftime show.
Yeah.
So all in all, I'm glad they're having it. And at this point, I'll be watching Forrest Frank probably.
Yeah.
My favorite halftime show ever was we went to that Clippers game. I forget, something happened with the owner. Like, he
got in trouble.
He made some racist comments or something. So Vince and I were going to his basketball
randomly,
game.
we didn't know that was going to.
We didn't know that was going to happen,
Yeah.
and so we get there, and all of the sponsors are like, they put sheets over all the sponsors throughout all the stadium. And for the halftime show, they literally had a guy with drumsticks in a bucket.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
That's probably the guy we brought to our Easter service
Oh, it
a
was
few
great.
years ago. Remember?
It was great. Yeah.
That came. I found him down in Las Vegas on Fremont Street, and he played on buckets, him and his sister or whatever. We brought him, did a fabulous job in Easter, and the next week he robbed a gas station.
Oh, wow.
And we haven't seen him since.
Oh, man.
But you know what? This leads right into our topic today. Here's our topic. Let me start it off and introduce it. We live in an angry, judgmental, divisive nation today. Cancel culture. The left hates the right. Democrats hate the Republicans. They won't be friends. People are walking around with chips on their shoulders. Now the church is even beginning to fight. I was in Vegas a while back, and I read this review, and there was a reason I was reading the reviews. I don't normally do that. But a lady was very mad, so I went to that church, and that pastor defended, he slipped and used the word cotton picker, and he was defending why he used it because he said he used to pick cotton or whatever. I will never go back to church again, ever, ever. Said he was racial to the max. And I have slipped. I was raised in a different culture, and sometimes bad habits come back. And I said in the pulpit one day, I said, cotton picking. And I go, oh, man. But I said, I did pick cotton, and I made a little thing out of it, not much at all. But I reframed that, and I thought, you know, you're so dogmatic. I will never go back here again. Didn't you hear anything good? Why did you, completely not mention all the good things that were said? If you were out in the middle of the ocean drowning, and someone came out and they had some kind of life-saving floating device, and on the way out they got frustrated, said, "Oh, cotton picking, what that?" It was just a habit of theirs. And they threw you the device, would you go, "I don't want that. I'm not taking it. I refuse to take it because you're racial." I don't think so. And I think there's a reason, but it's a slip up. You could tell it was a slip up. I didn't mean to use the term. I just, I was raised that way. So here's the question. Why are we like we are? How did we get here to where, 40 years ago, it wasn't like this. Today, people walking around with chips on their shoulders saying, "I dare you, knock it off. I dare you." There's a lot of hatred. I mean, more so than I've never seen anything like this ever. How did we get here?
You know when things started to change?
When's that?
Is when we started when we stared paying attention to these
Social media.
more than we pay attention to each other. And for those of you that are listening, I'm holding up my phone. We're stuck online, and we're constantly checking, and it's interesting, and it does hit our dopamine receptors. So we're like, I got to see what's going on. I have to know what's going on. I have to know what's going on. Well, on the other end, the marketers know that division sells. They know that rage baiting, like we talked about last week, sells. They know that if they can make you upset about something, that you're going to engage more. They actually have data. Like you'll engage 10 seconds longer if it's something that's divisive than you will, something that's not. And they know that. And so they're giving us as much as they can of that because they're making money on it. And we, the idiots, are the consumers. We're the consumers. And we need to be honest about that. Right. We overconsume everything. It's all we care about is what am I getting? What do I have? What's in there for me? And then what happens is you realize, you start to think that another group is trying to take what's yours, right? Because that's what you're being told. Like another
Josh,
group.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, it's okay. I heard. I think it was Jon Stewart. Who I'm not I'm not into Jon Stewart, but I remember him being in like an Adam Sandler movie a long time ago. Yeah. But he said he kind of went off on his show, and I just saw a clip of it online on social media, meant to probably divide. But I saw it, and he was like Republicans, you don't own Christianity, and then he went on and said some other things, and I was like, he's right. We don't own Christianity, right? We don't. And so when I hear like actual criticism that's correct, I'm like, oh no, that's actually good. And if you can try to look at it like that, but I don't always look at it like that. Sometimes it depends on my mood. If I wake up and I'm in a bad mood, I didn't sleep well, my back hurts, I look at it and I'm like, oh, this makes me mad. I can't believe he said that. Oh my gosh, can you believe that? And then I have my group of friends. We have our group text, right? Oh, look at this. So we send more funny things than anything else. But it's like, it's so easy to get caught up in this cycle that they want you to be caught up in.
Okay, Josh, this is what I was going to say. Do you remember, it was, I don't know, a decade and a half ago or two, we were approached by some, filming situation. Anyway, these guys wanted to do a reality show on us. They were looking for a church where the family members worked together. And they interviewed us, said, "Could you create some conflict for us?" And I go, "Absolutely not." No, we try to not have too many of those kinds of situations.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Because that's what they wanted. They said that sells.
Yeah.
And so
I think, yeah.
Move to it.
Well, just going back to where it started too, I think you're right, Josh, the devices, but also, just the internet in general, people, think about it. When you were, 20 years ago, here in Bakersfield, California, we didn't know what happened around the world, you know,
Right.
for good or bad, right?
Yeah.
You know, we really didn't know. We had our little microculture, what happened to our community. We cared about our community, what affected our community. We would go out and have,
more blissful ignorance.
yeah, but
sure.
but now when you have, obviously, I know there's a lot of injustice in the world. There's probably pockets of areas in the South that are probably very racist and very mean things are said where,
Right.
a word like cotton picking is very, it means a lot
Right.
to them,
Right.
right? Where here, where we were raised, and it would just, my dad picked cotton in the fields of Arvin too, it was just something that happened. And so it's so hard when you have different cultures where you were raised and then you try to blend them all into one melting pot.
Right, right.
Right?
Where
You're
d-
trying to blend everybody into this one thing and say, we're all like this. And it's like, you have no idea.
But when you
like,
think about it
yeah.
clearly and you think about it biblically, where did sin come from? It came from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? The knowledge, knowing the
Right.
difference between good and evil.
Yeah.
And based on our experiences, based on our life, our culture, how we were raised, we all see that a little bit differently. Even Christians, we do, like the culture. But what's awesome about God is he transcends that culture. And he's the only one that can transcend culture like that. And so I think that there's a lot of things that are inside of us that are based on culture, that are based on our experiences, that and it's really easy to tribe up and say that group's bad, we're good, and and then you fight.
But having an understanding where you I think it goes down to a micro level, and as far as like where you're from, like talking about immigration in California is completely different than talking about immigration in Colorado, or in some other state, that North Dakota, right? Like completely two different things that if you're raised in California, like it's just completely different. So you can't have an opinion if you're living in, I'm not saying you can't have an opinion. I'm just saying, like in North Dakota, they have no idea, what's happening here and with families and all the different things. So it's really, really hard. So they read the internet, right? They're like, can you believe this is happening in California? And then they're like, wow, like this is happening everywhere. And then, but do you see what I'm saying?
People are just online, man, and
Right.
they're reading. They're in these rage bait discussions.
But we have
And it's
tuned it
shaping our
out.
culture.
We've stopped. Yes, we've combined everything to we put it all in one pot and said this is how it is for everybody.
Well, a couple weeks ago, we talked about how the difference between social media and in person, right? And this person that typed in nepotism, in that post that was about.
That's still
about
bugging you,
me.
isn't it?
No. It's actually not. It's not now. I think it's funny because we talked about how somebody on the street walking by wouldn't just yell that at you. I mean, well, some people might. It's possible, but
Matters what they're smoking.
people that have dignity and self-respect, they're not going to go yelling at you and saying terrible things just out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So we act differently online than we do in person, but I think that one is affecting the other so much that now we have riots in the streets, and it's just it's sad.
But here's the question: how did we get here? And I got several opinions, but number one is I think the breakdown of the family structure. I think over the years we had so many divorces, people getting into drugs, alcoholism, pornography, and the parents have not been present in the home. And I think we've now raised a generation. And the Bible says there will be a generation that didn't even know God, or there was a generation that didn't even know God, didn't even know of God.
You know how parents get an hour of peace and quiet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Okay.
hand them a device.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you guys don't have any way to relate to this like I can. But back in the day, there was a strong family structure. Dinner time, we all sat down together. We were all there, all home. No one was on their cell phones because they didn't exist. We all went to church together on Sunday. You could count on the home pretty much going like this. Dad would get home from work at 4:35. You can count on it. He'd be in the living room reading the newspaper. Mom would be in the kitchen cooking. There was so much structure and rhythm. And we lost that in time. And so today we have so many children that have been raised in a broken home without a father or dad, no structure, no rhythm. A lot of kids are raising themselves, no structure in life at all, no security. They feel all alone. And so, like you say, even the little ones, they throw them something and iPad or a phone and get on it.
Or Amazon, whatever.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one reason.
Can I
of
ask
many.
you something about that?
Yes.
Why do you think we've abandoned that family? So, like, where do you think that breakdown
I think
happened?
it all came with when social media came on the scene.
Well, the devil has a
And-
plan, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but then see back in that day,
Women didn't work.
no, women didn't work. Now my mom worked, but she
Mothers didn't work. I should
okay,
say,
but
as
listen
much,
to this.
as
This
much.
was
I need
values.
to clarify that.
My mom got a job when I got in school. She worked at the school cafeteria, and she worked from 9 to 1. She was there when I left. She was there when I came home, and I had to see her in the cafeteria line every day serving. She was serving me. But also, we only had 3 TV channels. That's it.
And it was like TV time was at night after dinner.
It was
right?
night after
Usually.
dinner. We'd all watch Beverly Hillbillies, My 3 Sons, Father Knows Best.
I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against women working, by the way, just so you guys know, Nicole.
Well-
and my wife works. But but we live in a society too where we've been told that we're supposed to live at a certain level, and in order to
Yep.
get to that level,
You have to work.
There's a
2
lot of
people have to
pressure.
work.
There's a lot of pressure on
It's a
couples.
necessity.
Well,
and
you said in the
parents.
beginning, consumerism.
Yeah.
Like we've consumed more, so we have been sold that we need more, and because we need more, then we have to work more,
Yep.
and we're out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking about I read something a while back about the Industrial Revolution and how basically it was the first time that not only moms were like, but dads left the home. Like, because up until then, there was no factories where dad would leave the home. Dad would work from the home.
Oh, yeah.
And so, he would provide
Chopping wood outside,
whatever the case may be,
Taking
by
care
his
of the
own means,
farm.
right? Yeah, the
Sure.
whole thing.
Sure.
So when the dads went into the factories, and they say a lot of the family breakdown started then when
And you know-
dads went to the factories.
And you know what brought about the Industrial Revolution was the printing press, because all of a sudden they had manuals they could hand out to everybody, and they could learn how to work
They
on
can
those,
learn
on
how
those
all
things.
those machines,
So it all comes back down to mass communication again.
Right.
Which
Interesting.
was also the problem in Genesis, where the people got together and they were
Tower
all
of Babel.
unified, and they
Yeah.
started building a tower, and God said, "This ain't good."
Well,
Right?
let's talk about social media for a second. What we're doing is we're opening up our minds to all kinds of deception 24/7. Even these social influencers are everywhere now. And I know some, and some of them, their lives are really messed up, but everybody wants to be like them because you're only seeing what they want you to see. That's it. And so we see that, and then all these lies we're exposing our minds to. Lies. Pharmaceutical companies are taking over a lot of the medical sites today. And I believe that their full-time jobs, some of these pharmaceutical employees, is to make you not believe in anything out there that's an alternative to what
Right.
they're pushing.
Yep.
And let's say that pomegranate juice heals cancer. They don't want you to know about it. They want you to follow their trail, the money trail. They want to stay on that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe the things I've read on social media, because I really believe in a lot of alternative, things for cancer, and I have 2 cancers, so I'm really into this. And I'll read articles and I'll go, boy, they say this stuff doesn't work. They did their own trial. And you won't believe how many times I've done some research, and those are all pharmaceutical companies. They're following the buck. And our doctors today, now I got into not a debate. I love my doctor. I love all 3 of my doctors. They're cool. They're cool guys, and I have relationships with them. They're friendships. And one the other day was telling me, he said, Ron, do what you want to do, and we'll. I know you want some alternative medicines for your present cancer, and we'll follow you and do blood. We'll work with you. We want you to know there's absolutely no proof that what you're doing works. And I said, Doctor, excuse me, unless you're going to call a lot of people bull-faced liars, there's proof everywhere that this has some effect. And so I think we're at a place now where.
So what's? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Oh, I just there's no proof when.
I know test tube. You can't put in a test
No.
tube. Repeat
That's not what I was
the
going to say. That's not what I was going to
process.
say. No, doctors they go based off of the peer-reviewed
Right.
sources, right? The articles, the tests that are done, right? But do people, when they do that, do they find out who's sponsoring the test?
No,
because
see,
a lot of times pharmaceutical companies
they do their own
for the
test.
test, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, here's a peer reviewed
Yeah.
article. Here's the test that we've done, and it's a it's a test.
Well,
but-
one of them, they took this alternative method for healing cancer or whatever, and they did their own test. But they waited till people were almost dying, and it's a known fact that you have to take this way before that time. So they have all kinds of way of disproving that.
We live in a world where manipulation is like the number one skill that people need to have to survive. It's like that's what we're taught anyway, right? Like I'm gonna get my way, and I'm gonna figure out how to do that, and I'm gonna twist this, and I'm gonna mess with this. I mean, it's demonic, man.
But now we
It's
have
not-
Nicole sitting here. Her husband is a medical doctor. And we have a bunch of them in the church, and they're friends of ours. I understand where they're at, though. They can't come out and say, yeah, go for it, because they could lose their license and they could be gone.
Yeah.
So they have to stay with the protocols, a lot of them, that
Well,
the
if you-
hospital has established.
If you want to do things right, I know John does this. You have to work a little harder. You have to
Yes.
look. I think the best way to find the truth is to look at both sides of an argument and then find out what they both agree on. That's probably true.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing, is we're being lied to all day long. Even on the networks, the news networks, the national Fox, CNN, all those, you just have to keep remembering they're in the entertainment industry. They have to take a little issue and make it into a real big one. And so
Speaking of,
my phone, I forgot to turn it off. Oh, well, it makes this podcast very, very,
Now we owe Tim McGraw $1 million.
what was I going to say? It just makes it authentic. But going back, we're being lied to. And again, this is an example I've used before. But I have a product right now, and I have a lot of confidence in it. And I've given it to at least 25 people, and almost 100% of them, man, it works. And I know it works. I mean, I've proven to myself this stuff works. I'm not really overly afraid of COVID. I'm not overly afraid of the flu. None of this stuff. I'm not overly afraid of it at all because of this natural product that you can buy in the store. And yet, when you go on the internet, they go, there's absolutely no proof this product. In fact, it'll hurt you. It'll do this to you and that to you. And it's all a bunch of lies. So I think one thing that has worked against us and maybe turned culture a little bit is that we are filling our minds with a bunch of lies. And we're believing a lot of them. And that is influencing the way we're acting and our opinions and everything.
Well, it's confirmation bias, right? So if you believe something and you're looking for it, you're going to find it, right? We talked about this before, I think, but that's what people are doing online. It's like in the algorithm is your little servant that's going to give you everything that you want, that they think you want, right? So you're looking for what you want, you find what you want, and then they also feed you a little bit of division. They feed you a little bit of,
yeah, there's the other side of that though too, where it's funny because we have all the information in the world, but we'll read one thing and we won't do any research. We have the ability to research the thing at our fingertips,
Yes.
and we will not do it.
I was
We'll
thinking about a
just
post
read
that I posted a couple years ago, and I wasn't in a good mood that month, and so I remember seeing a post and I was like, I disagree with that, and I got on there and said something. Man, I regretted that. I still regret that to this day. I'm like, why did I do that? That was not me. That's not right. That's not where I want to be in life. And when I'm happier, I'm not like upset at every little post. Like I see them, I'm like, oh, okay.
Josh, you know what? Before we had the internet, there were several occasions where I gave this crazy illustration, had people crying even. And I found out later after we had the internet, that was not even true. And I used it. Today, like Vince says, we have fact-checked, we have fact-checking right at our fingertips. Now, still today, what frustrates me, there's these false God stories going around. For example, one, a lot of pastors use this on Easter about the folded napkin. Jesus folded it in such a way in the tomb that it meant he was coming back, because there's this culture thing that if you fold your napkin in some parts of the country, it means I'm just going to the bathroom or something, coming back. And I mean, a lot of pastors use this on Easter, and it's all a made-up story. According to the internet, it's all a made-up story. There is absolutely no reason to believe that that's true. And so, and I get kind of angry at people. I don't know how many times I would do this back when I was on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook hardly at all anymore. But I write people and I say, you better do your fact check, because I did. And what you're spreading all over the internet is not even true. But then, of course, can you believe the fact check?
No.
Yeah, there's that thought.
Who's putting that out, to try to, for example, I have one that I've used before and I really like it about these shepherds and how they had they had their rod or their staff. And anyway, how they wrote down God's stories on it. Long story short, some pastor was over in the Holy Land. He saw one of these staffs and somebody said, the shepherds did this, this, and this. And it made perfect sense to me. The way the story is explained, I go, that just really sounds real. But yet, these other people came out on the internet and said, there's no truth to that. No one has ever heard of that. But this guy did, and I believe it makes sense. So again, I do believe the internet plays a huge role in one of the reasons people are so angry today. They're getting false information, false narratives, and they're believing them. And it's causing a lot of problems.
One of the most interesting videos that I found early in the internet was the video of Jerusalem, and it was like two different sects of priests fighting, the priest fights. Like they're wearing different colors, and they're they both wanted to use I forget what it was. I forget what the issue was. It was like
I'm gonna look that up.
Oh yeah, it's
priest
great.
Fights.
Yeah, and but literally like one's wearing blue robes, one's wearing red robes. It was like.
Where'd you see this at?
This is years ago. I just found it, and I was looking up stuff for Jerusalem. We were going to doing a Holy Land tour, and I remember researching, and I remember finding that. And I was like, "What is happening?" And then it made me think of we had this. I probably shouldn't say this, but it's
your
all right.
dad's day's whole
It's
room,
one
by
of
the
these
way.
days.
He's looking up priest
Yeah.
It's just the rest of his day.
This reminded me of another thing where we were at the park giving food to the homeless. And another group rolled up, and they're like, "This is our park. We give food to the homeless here." And they started fighting with us, and I'm like, "Whoa! What are we doing here? What is this?"
Yeah.
And it just made me think about, look, obviously, as Christians, we're gonna turn away from all the evil in the world, right? Like we're gonna hate the evil, not the people, but the evil behind it, right?
Yeah.
But what bothers me right now is that Christians are just fighting like crazy. We are not known. What does the Bible say? You will know them by their love and fruit. Yeah, like you're gonna know them for their unity and they take care of each other. And like if we were unified as a church, as a whole, and we actually loved each other, and not talked crap about each other, the people would want to be a part of it.
Next week at our early morning Bible study at 6 in the morning, by the way, we're starting to pack this place out at 6 in the morning. You got to see all the cars lined up. They're coming for the Bible study. And next week, one of the subjects is going to come up in our study about divisiveness in the church, division in the church. Church is a mess. It's just a mess. But I want to hurry and get this thing over because I'm going to go home and watch the priest fights. So that's all I can think about now. I got to see these. So anyway, people are out there with a chip on their shoulder, and they're just, you have to walk on eggshells around them because they're just looking for a reason to fight. And even the critics, you told me something, Josh.
There's a bunch of them. You just got to Google priest fights Jerusalem.
Oh, so I've got it.
Just so you know.
Got it.
Just so you know. There's apparently more now.
But you told me something the other day. And I believe you said Joe Rogan doesn't look at
the comments.
Yeah,
he always says that.
And I think that's probably
wise.
Something that, a lot of us should not do.
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore. I used to. And your mother told me, she said, stop looking at the comments.
Yeah.
It's working you up. Because isn't it funny, as Vince said earlier, we can get 1,000 really good comments, but that one bad one stands out.
Yeah.
We go,
I'm constantly weighing, and I'm not on social media a whole lot. I'm on Facebook a little bit because some of you guys message me on there, and I appreciate it when you do. And I always try to get back to everyone. But that's why I have Facebook, really. But then it's a temptation to look at it and see what people are doing, and I do. But I'm always weighing, like, when do I need to let go of this? Yeah. When is the negative going to outweigh the positive, Mm-hmm. And that's a hard one. It really is. And that's something everyone needs to make their own decision on.
Yeah. But I think they're in the same, vein of thinking. Sometimes, though, in different situations, I might need to hear the critics.
Yeah.
I got to pick and
that's
choose
true.
carefully.
That's true.
David, one of his, King David in the Bible, one of his really neat characteristics was that on a couple occasions we were talking about the other day, he said, no, let the critic talk. I might need to hear this.
No, you're right. And that's the problem, right? So most people in the world today, they shut off all the critics and they only listen to the people that they agree with. And there's a term for it. I can't remember the term. You guys probably all know out there right now, but there's this psychology of teaming up and grouping up that is just becoming worse and worse and worse because of that, because we're just focusing on the people. But if you do listen to your critics, here's the thing. I just sent Vince a documentary or a podcast on a guy who is criticizing the way the church is in America. And I don't agree with him on everything, but a couple of points he made, I do agree with. And so, you can learn so much if you're able to just say, okay,
Yes.
I don't agree with everything you're saying, but I do hear that truth and I do hear that truth. If we can get to a place where we can do that, instead of just completely turning somebody off as soon as they mention a word or as soon as they say something. I was at church the other day, and I told this, I think I already talked about this too, where somebody yelled inside the sanctuary after I said the name Charlie Kirk. I wasn't even talking positively or negatively about Charlie Kirk. I was using him in reference of something else that he said, and it triggered somebody.
But how
'cause
many
they heard
times,
this word.
Josh, how many times have you done that very thing? I could count, well, I might not could count it because I've done it many times. If someone has jumped all over me on the internet or whatever, and I read it through, and I always like to brag, or I always like to take pride in the fact that I'm a pretty honest guy. And I've written them back, and I said, you know what? I don't agree with all of that, but you know what? You hit a real point that I need to really consider. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And so thank you for having the courage to tell me that, because I needed to hear it. How many times have you done that? I've done it several times.
You just saw me do it a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Somebody corrected me online in a group text that we were in, or in our group text, not online. And I agreed with them.
And you know what? They can be really mad. I've seen this
agree.
over and over again. Yeah. They're so mad at me. They're telling me off. When I write them back and go, you know what? I don't agree with this and this and this, but you know what you said about me, man, God's been talking to me. I need to change. Yep. And then they come back with a real nice text going, because they didn't think you would do that.
Yeah. Take it deeper. Take it into like a marriage context, right? When your spouse criticizes you, it fires you up. And then what do you think about? What do you think about all of their faults?
I'll criticize them too.
Think about all the things that they've done. Okay, you want to go there, right? And then you fight. But there's probably truth in whatever they're saying. More than likely, not always, but you might have just a bully of a spouse. I don't know, but most marriages I know, there's truth in it. And if we were to humble ourselves, which is not easy to do, and say you're right about that, it would disarm them. And you would change. It's a win-win.
Josh, I've taught this in marriage retreats for a long time in how we handle conflicts as growing Christians and in the context of marriage. And we do this, your mother and I, a lot. See, I'm the leader of the household according to the Bible. That doesn't mean I'm dictator or anything. I'm just supposed to go out there and model love and model all this stuff. And so very often when we have a disagreement, I feel like God's saying, okay, you're the leader. You go in there and you resolve this. And so I set down some rules for your mother and I, and they've worked so well that I've kind of taught them in the marriage retreats. When we have a conflict, it is I'm having a hard time today. My caffeine's totally wore off. But it's my responsibility to pray through this. And the rules are like this. When you pray, you can only pray for yourself. You can't pray for the other person, just you. For example, we've had a conflict. And let's say in this conflict that I was only 10% wrong in my mind, and Debbie was 90% wrong. Still, when I say, let's pray, and I say, Father God, right now, I'm just being a jerk. I've got pride in me, arrogancy. I'm stubborn. I didn't even want to come and pray. But Lord God, just forgive me right now. My wife has been through so much. I put her through so much in the last years, decades. And so forgive me for being a jerk right now. That's all I pray, because I can't pray for her. You can't go on and say, but her, you know what you really need to convict, then you just make things worse. And then it's her turn to pray. And my wife follows me so well. She'll say, God, I was really wrong on this one. Anyway, that's the way we handle conflict. And it's worked really well.
And then there are moments where you're criticized and it's not true. It's just, the other person is upset about something else or whatever it might be. You don't know their motivation. What do you do in those situations? Right? What I would do is that's when I pray. that's when I pray for them.
But there's just something about you humbling yourself before God in the presence of your spouse. And again, usually in our marriage, it's me that's 90% wrong and her 10. But on those occasions that other reverse thing might be true, just me saying I'm being jerky right now. I mean, that just takes the steam out of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
My wife looks, or she thinks, this is pretty cool. My husband is at least seeing he's a jerk right now. And
sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say, I do that with my kids. Like even last week, I let my temper, talking about anger, I let my temper roll. And I had to go to my own kids, which I'm the adult, and have to say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? And I want to teach my kids that,
yes,
guess what? I mess up. And for them have to actually say, Mom, I forgive you. Like there's healing in that, but man, is it humbling.
It's humbling.
It's
Nikki,
so humbling.
You know what, though? That's one of the reasons why our little kids are into good big kids. Now, Josh will know, and he probably remember this, but I remember it was a defining moment. My dad was very physical with me. He spanked the daylights out of me and would hit me and stuff. And I remember one day I got really mad at Josh and I pushed him real hard. And then right away I go, I am so sorry. I will never do that again, ever. Please forgive me. I remember times, Josh might not remember them. I remember several times. One year we were going on vacation and I got mad and I threw something around the room. I had this problem with anger. And I was already in the ministry. I was a young guy. And I remember saying, kids, would you please pray for me? I just blew it big time. Please ask God to forgive me. I am so sorry. I think it's those moments that cause our small kids to grow into big, more loving adults. When they see that kind of transparency. I hope I did it well. I tried. And then again, too, we can always look back, and I have to be careful because there's a lot of things you do in parenting, too, that are wrong, that are not good. And you learn when it's too late. You're older now, so I can't correct those. And so I know sometimes my kids probably look and go, Dad, he really kind of messed up. But you just need to keep in mind, your kids are going to do the same thing to you, identical. They're going to, when they grow up, I'll say, you weren't there for me. And you're going to feel like shaking them going, I was a good dad. But they're going to do the same thing.
Well, we always joke that the trauma changes each generation, and it's like sillier and sillier. it's like, Dad, you didn't let me have cupcakes at night. It's like, yeah, you're right. We didn't. But no, I think going back to the idea of if you're in a verbally abusive relationship, because some people are. Yeah. So if you're the victim of that, what's sad is when we talk about this stuff, about how to handle anger and all these things, it's usually the ones that are better off in that area that listen to the advice more. Like it's like usually the people but the person that's giving the verbal abuse or the other type of abuse, they're not listening. They're like, whatever, it has nothing to do with me, right?
Right.
So if you're in a relationship that you can't get out of right now, and I would say marriage is a good example of that. Unless there's true abuse. If there's true actual abuse, then get out. That's okay. Jesus is good with that. But if it's not a real abuse, but it's the other person berates you, makes you feel down, then my advice is get some good friends and don't let that person keep you from having those friends. Just say that, make a boundary with them. I'm going to have my friendships and find friends that will speak into your life, because if you don't have somebody speaking positively into your life, you're going to crash and burn. If all you have, the only influence that you have in your life is somebody that's berating you and speaking terrible things about you, then it's going to affect you. It's going to kill you.
I think too, trying to understand these people who are maybe just breaking out in anger against us. For example, I'll use an example here. I see a lot of angry people during the course of a week, and I think trying to seek to understand them. For example, a lot of older people have the tendency to become very grouchy. And, but what you have to understand, and I get it, sometimes, put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they got all these aches and pains they're living with and they can't get rid of them. They have all these regrets. Maybe their kids disowned them and they're all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just lost a spouse. You don't know. Life hasn't worked out for them. And I get it. I really get it. The older you get, it's the harder it is sometimes to be, jolly because you have so many hurts, mental and physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we seek to try to understand these people. Now also when I say, we talked about critics, they hide behind the internet. And sometimes you let them get to you, but if you saw them out in public, you go, that's the person that's made my life miserable for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Have you heard about all these people having burner accounts now? Like
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence came out and said that she
What
has
is
one.
that?
A burner account is, and you're going to get one probably along with your Jewish fights. Your priest fights you're going to watch later. You're
They're
gonna
not Jewish,
also,
they're Christians.
Are they priests? They're Christian?
Christian priests,
Oh, I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
you
yeah.
mentioned Jerusalem, so I was like,
No.
oh, okay. But anyways, you're gonna burner account is when you create an account that's not you, and you go online and you criticize or you pick fights or you give opinions that you would never give on your
My
personal
wife's
account.
been telling me to get one of those.
One is a burner account.
She has.
Don't do it.
She said, you have such
Don't
good
do it.
opinions. Can you get an account where nobody knows it's you?
No.
I know. Now I'll
No,
tell
no,
her.
no.
Good news. I've learned about burner accounts. I'm getting one.
Tyler has a burner account, and he's the one that wrote nepotism. We found out this week.
Yeah,
so,
I figured that. So
I'm getting a burner account, and then I'm going to watch priest fights.
here's the thing
today.
about burner accounts. When people set them up, people always find out.
Yeah.
They always-
That's
They
what I'm
always
afraid
get
of.
caught.
Who's the
They always-
basketball player that has one?
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
He
has a
always
bunch
gets
of
caught. He has
when
like
gets
5
caught.
of them. Yeah, I love what you said though
man.
about one, you said you haven't walked in my shoes. From that personal part. And I do think that's what's hard about criticism, especially from online, because these people do not know you. Something happened
Right.
in the church
Exactly.
4 years ago. It had to do with the homeless shelter. We were all involved in it. And all of us took a lot of criticism at VBF. Your name's was on the thing, Pastor, so you took a lot of criticism over a homeless shelter that they were planning on putting in that we didn't see it as the most beneficial place to be because of the location. But people have no idea how much you've been for the homeless in this city, and you've marched in the streets for the poor, and we've given out tons of resources. No one wanted to hear that, but you had people that had no idea what the church stood for that were
Yes.
hurling comments from afar because they had no personal relationship,
and
and that's
Vince-
what makes it hard.
Our main problem was we said, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
We'll be good to the homeless shelter, the navigation, or put
Of
it in
course,
here.
right.
But we said, can you limit its size? Because our church is in a very poor area. And I have all these poor people around that go to our church that
Yeah.
I have to protect. And a lot of them, their kids that are home by themselves.
That was
a
the big-
lot. And I said, so just do me a favor. And because we're in the poor area, I had a little bit of a problem going, that's where you put them at.
Right.
And these politicians and people who are voting to put it down there,
Put it in your neighborhood.
they don't want it in their neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had a solution. I said, here's the deal. I said, why don't we just make a bunch of smaller ones and put them all next to churches all over the city?
Mm-hmm.
And that way we can all adopt
Right.
that homeless shelter
Yep.
or whatever. Well, they didn't want to hear that.
Right.
We don't want one next to our church. Well, what do you think about us?
But
We don't
you're-
want the massive, biggest one in the state to be right next door to us. We can't handle it. It's too big. So one of our main things was we welcome the homeless shelter.
Of course.
But we said, just can you keep it to a certain size? And they didn't seem to want to do that.
What dropped my jaw during that time was just the amount of people that actually did know you and actually decided to comment during that time. Was like, how in the world you have this? So, people get angry without understanding the whole story. And
No.
I think under like in that terms of criticism, I think when you said allowing that criticism, it is much easier. Like if you called me today, Pastor, and said, "Hey, Vince, you know what? Like I need to talk to you about something." I'm gonna receive it. And I'm going to listen to it because I have that relationship with you. Nicole, if you called me, Josh, if you called me, obviously the same thing. I'm going to hear what you have to say.
Right.
But it is really hard when somebody wants to type from afar or hurl a comment from afar and tell you what you should be doing when they don't have the full story.
Well, we are seeing, and this kind of goes against one of my earlier comments, but we are seeing people in the streets yelling at each other now But I think they've been trained online to do that, and now they're like, well, we are going to take it to the streets. When you see people like, fighting, I think Turning Point and Antifa got into it the other day. Like, it's just terrible, man. It's just a terrible situation, People are getting hurt.
Well, what Vince said too, my wife got so mad at one person in the city, and I will not say who he is or what he does, because now I'm on friendly terms with this person. But when she read what he had written, she said, that's all lies, Ron. That is all lies. She said, you've got a heart for the homeless that a lot of people don't know exist. Right. I mean, you're probably one of the biggest people in the community over the decades. I even marched for the homeless. We marched to City Hall with all the homeless with me to say, we have rights. We're homeless, but we have rights. Right. I've done all that. And so again, to put it in context, I was all for them putting one in beside us. But I said, it'd be so cool if you put one by every church in town, then the churches could really help them. And so, yeah, they were lying right and left. Headlines hit the newspaper, pastor against the homeless or something similar to that.
Yeah.
And I go, that is
something
the biggest
really
lie
unfair.
ever.
Yeah.
I live for the homeless. A lot of my life has been lived around them, with them in mind, trying to help them. And to do this to me is ridiculous. And so, again, don't believe everything you read. But, I think I've said this before too, but there's a lot of younger people out there, especially, not always younger, sometimes the older can do it too, but they're dead set on their opinions. And because you have more years behind you, you know that those opinions will probably change down the road. And I think a lot of it has to do with the internet. Again, I told you, it was so comical, I'll repeat it. I was up in the mountains a while back, and I was working with a young man, probably 16, 17. And I've had 80 chickens in my life. I've raised chickens a lot. And he came out and he started telling me everything I was doing wrong with these chickens. He said, here's what you're supposed to do. And I thought, this boy was raised on a chicken farm. And I said, buddy, were you raised on a chicken farm? Were you raised on a ranch? He said, oh, no, I Google. I Google. And I thought that put everything in context right there. I Google. So I know everything now. And so the internet is affecting us in
I read a verse?
Bad way. Sure.
So 2 verses, Ephesians 4:25-26. Therefore, having put away falsehood, let each of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. And verse 26 says, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. I like that because, there are a lot of things to be legitimately angry about. And my legitimate anger, I would say 9 times out of 10 is toward myself because I'm not maturing the way I want to mature, or I'm not reacting the way I want to react, or I'm not loving the way I want to love. And so there is a righteous anger. And then there's a righteous anger in being upset with other people too. Yes, 100%. But don't let it take you into a sinful state where you are. And I think when I think of sin, I think it's something that controls you. You no longer control it, right? Once you give power to something like anger, it can take over your life, and you can become bitter. And bitterness is a form of anger.
I think that verse is basically saying, be angry about certain things, but funnel your anger appropriately.
Yeah.
Funnel it in a constructive way.
And realize that you're part of a system. You're part of a family.
You're part of the problem sometimes.
Sometimes part of the problem. But
so anyway, well, I think that's a good verse and word to end this podcast on. Again, we appreciate our audience so much. In the beginning, we did not know that this podcast would do this well, and it's doing very well because of you guys. And we appreciate you listening. We know you have a lot of options on who you listen to, and we really, really appreciate it. So we'd love to hear from you. So with that, any last word from anybody else, Nikki?
You know what I'm excited about? There's not any politics in heaven. I think about that. There's not Republican or Democrat. And I think when I study the word, I just see how, Jesus called Matthew the tax collector and Simon the zealot, two politically opposite people, into his inner circle.
Sure.
Wait a minute, though. That would have been inappropriate today.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Or improper, at least.
It would be, you're right, though. I mean, I think calling people in that are different showed that he cared about everyone.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I could go on to. I have a whole.
I don't know. I just think
that,
I'm sure these guys, they saw the world differently.
Yes.
There had to be some anger, could be, but
Yeah.
believe it or not, they're both called to be part of it. And so I loved what you were talking about earlier about just we're all one body.
We are.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Well, hey, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week if the Lord be willing.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul.